Chosen one, this was meant for you to receive alone, not casually, not in pieces, not while distracted. This moment required your full presence because what is being spoken cannot be absorbed halfway. God intentionally interrupted your day, not to overwhelm you, but to realign you. Take a breath, a deep one. Feel how your chest has been tight lately. Notice how your mind hasn't rested even when your body has. That isn't random, that isn't just stress, that is spiritual activity. Being God asked you to be alone because some revelations lose their power when filtered through other people's opinions. Some messages are so personal, so precisely timed, that they only make sense to the one they're meant for. This is one of those moments. Others would hear words, but you hear confirmation you've been feeling isolated recently. Not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. You can be in a room full of people and still feel completely disconnected. Conversations happen around you, but nothing truly lands. You're present, yet internally distant. And you've been questioning yourself, wondering if you're becoming antisocial, withdrawn, or broken. But what if none of that is true? What if this isn't isolation, but insulation? Then God has been pulling you away from noise, opinions, drama, and even well-meaning voices that would interfere with what He is doing inside you. You are in formation. You are being recalibrated and reshaped at a level that cannot happen publicly. Growth like this requires privacy. It requires silence. It requires the removal of the audience. Banged. That's why the room was cleared. Men, this season couldn't happen while you were explaining yourself to people who would never fully understand. So God protected you by removing distractions, not to punish you with loneliness, but to shield you during transition. And here's why that protection was necessary. Someone has been testing you quietly, strategically, not openly attacking, but subtly provoking. They poke old wounds, bring up sensitive topics, ask questions that sound innocent but feel heavy. Comments that look harmless but leave your spirit unsettled. You can't call it out logically, because on the surface it looks fine. But your discernment knows. Len, just because someone smiles doesn't mean the knife isn't real. God saw it. God felt it. And God said, enough. That's why He pulled you back. That's why He told you to stay quiet a little longer. Because if you respond now, if you defend, explain, or react, you give access to people who no longer have clearance to your next level. Lean. This is critical. Not everyone who had access to your last season gets access to your next one. That's not cruelty, that's wisdom. You've noticed your tolerance disappearing. Conversations that once felt normal now drain you. People you used to enjoy feel exhausting. Environments you once navigated easily now feel suffocating. And you wondered if you're being too sensitive. But what if your spirit has simply graduated? And what if God adjusted your frequency? You're learning a new language now, the language of discernment, the language of silence, the language of boundaries without explanation, the language of walking away without closure. And this language cannot be learned in noise. You are in the in-between space, the gap between who you were and who you're becoming. It feels uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. The old skin is shedding, but the new one hasn't fully formed. You've left familiar territory, but you haven't arrived yet. That space feels vulnerable. But it is sacred. Transformation always happens here. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by staying comfortable. It surrenders to a process that looks like death but leads to flight. The enemy knows this. He knows you're shifting. He can't stop what God ordained, but he can distract you, provoke you, drain you, get you to react emotionally instead of respond strategically. That's why the tests came. That's why conversations felt heavy. That's why you felt tempted to explain yourself. Bond, if he gets you to break silence too soon, he delays what's coming. That's why God has been firm with you. Your silence right now isn't weakness. It's warfare. Bond, every day you don't react is a failed plan. Every explanation you don't give is energy saved. Blondin, your stillness is obedience. And obedience positions you for breakthrough. Now let's talk about the guilt, because it's been sitting heavy on you. You feel guilty for pulling away. Guilty for not being as available. Guilty for not explaining why you've changed. Guilty for protecting your energy. And that guilt makes you question whether you're being selfish or cold. Men's, but hear this clearly, you known boundaries are not betrayal. Distance is not rejection. Silence is not cruelty. Protection is not punishment. And you are not responsible for managing people's feelings about your obedience to God. You are not required to stay small so others feel secure. Your responsibility is alignment. Very soon, the fog will lift. God is about to expose motives you couldn't see, intentions you couldn't prove, manipulation that spoke softly, jealousy that smiled. Not because you confronted it, but because God is handling it. This exposure isn't for revenge. It's for clarity, And once the truth is revealed, you'll know exactly who belongs in your next season. And right now, your job is simple, right? Stay still, stay quiet, stay aligned. While you wait, God is strengthening you, deepening your roots, expanding your capacity, sharpening your discernment, fortifying your boundaries, securing your peace. Plunger, this season of silence is full, not empty. And yes, your body has been feeling it. Ben, you've been more tired than usual. Not the kind sleep fixes, bone-deep tired. That's because your spirit is carrying weight. Rest is necessary right now. You cannot push the way you used to emotionally. Waves come and go. Tears appear without warning. Peace turns into sadness without explanation. That's not instability, it's transformation. The old version of you is dying so the new one can be born. Death and birth are both messy. Your dreams haven't been random either. Searching, silence, familiar places, feeling strange. These are your subconscious processing spiritual shifts. The signs you've been seeing, repeating numbers, perfectly timed songs, conversations that speak directly to you. Those aren't coincidences. They're confirmations. God is leaving breadcrumbs. This season will end. Clandian, when it does, momentum will be supernatural. Doors will open. Opportunities will pursue you. Clarity will download. Not because you forced it, but because timing met obedience, and when you speak again, your voice will carry weight. Some will celebrate the new you. Others will resist it. Let them. You are allowed to outgrow people. Growth is not arrogance. Change is not betrayal. Your life will be the evidence. Your peace will be the testimony. Gleaned. What felt like isolation was incubation. What felt like silence was strategy. Stay aligned. Stay surrendered. What's coming next requires the version of you being formed right now.